Let's call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Watson?
Present.
Lynch?
Here.
Euring?
Yes.
And Kish is also here.
Okay, you are presented in front of you the minutes from the March 10th regular meeting and the March 16th special meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes that one would like to add? One has. Okay, if not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 10th meeting as presented?
So moved. Second.
Motion been made and seconded.
Watson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
You have the minutes of the March 16th.
I approved those all in one.
I think he said, oh, yeah.
You said all in one.
But then he did when he asked for
When I asked for the resolution, I
I've
put
got it all
down.
in one.
You want it all in one?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll amend that then.
Thank you.
310 and the 316 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 310 and 316 minutes as presented. Okay. We have before us the bills and financial reports. Review them. Are there
Payment listing?
the payment listing and the financial report, the bills?
There's really nothing out of the ordinary. That is in there. Some of them were a little bit earlier, if you're wondering about the dates, because I was trying to get as much in before I had to do the final appropriations, so I had more accurate numbers for 3 months. So, but everything's pretty boilerplate in there, and our year-to-date revenue is $184,128.11, and our year-to-date expenditures are $241,919.05, and we've not received the property taxes yet.
And hopefully they don't delay them. That's happened in years past.
Yes.
When they've been slow on receiving funds.
That's the financials.
Okay. That being said, do I hear a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the financial reports and the payments, the items on the payment listing as specified in the documents provided by the fiscal officer.
Second.
okay. One moment. Any further discussion? Not roll call?
Lynch?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes. You have before you the credit card listing for February. Or is this at February? All right. Are there any questions on that? If there are no questions, do I have a motion to accept the credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and the card statement is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. Do I have a motion like that?
So moved.
Second.
Watson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes. 313.
Yes, it was.
314.
That was 313.
Yeah. 314 will be the next one.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda. I would like to welcome every one of you to the Township
Weren't gonna
meeting,
do that.
trustee
Permanent
meeting.
appropriations.
Oh, wait a minute, before we go on to that, we have one more item under finances we have to cover. Right,
Permanent.
we have before you the permanent appropriations for 2026.
There really was not much of a change. The changes that were made was in addition to the general fund and in addition to road and bridge. The addition to the general fund was, I had only entered 3 months of the fiscal officer's salary for the year, so I
We
had.
just want to pay you.
And utilities have really been eating up a lot. So healthcare reimbursement had to go up an additional $4,000. And travel expenses we were almost already maxed out with just the OTA. So, and it's only March. I know there's not much more that goes on, but, so I increased that by $74,000. And then in road and bridge, I increased that by $25,000, only because we took a huge hit to salaries due to overtime because of January and February's weather.
Okay, and you still had, the way it appeared, even looking at the previous year, is for the truck, because we don't know.
Right,
since we're
that's
going
in,
different
yes, that
trucks.
is still in
I'm
there.
talking about the plow truck, and I see, and you've got the fire truck, which we still expect this year, but there's always that possibility if
That's
that
all
gets
in there, but
delayed.
I wanted to be safe than
Absolutely.
having to reappropriate and do all of that
Yep.
stuff, so I just made those minor adjustments.
I'm with you.
All right, well, there's no further discussion. I will make a motion to provide for the current expenses and other expenditures of said Board of Amherst Township Trustees during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2026. The following sums be and the same are hereby set aside and permanently appropriated for the several purposes for which expenditures are to be made for and during said fiscal year as follows. General fund, $800,000. Road and bridge, $675,000. Ambulance levy, $40,400. Fire and EMS levy, $1,465,000. Motor vehicle license fund, $15,000. Gasoline tax fund, $200,000. Cemetery fund, $3,900. Public Works Commission, $200. Stormwater grant, $15,000.
Nope, that's because, yes, you're right. You're right, sorry.
And total of $3,214,500. I will so move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Roll call?
Euring,
Yes.
Lynch,
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to welcome everyone to the meeting. If there are any concerns to be brought forward at this time, please come forward to the podium, state your name and address and what your concern is. We will try to answer your questions or address it the best we can.
Good evening, panel. My name is Rick Romeo, and I am here today on behalf of the residents of Four Seasons at Sandstone, which is just over the railroad tracks a little bit. And so the property is in Amherst Township, but our mailing address is Elyria. I'm here today to talk to you about a problem that we had ever since we've taken residence there. My wife and I have been there for a year. I brought some of our neighbors with us as well, and they've been there about a year as well. It's not that old of a development. First of all, I'll tell you, I understand you can't help us because, you know, you're Amherst Township, and our beef is with Lorraine, pretty much. my wife and I use about $35 a month in water. And, we're two people, we take a shower, we eat, and, it's very, very minimal, the water that we use. But the problem we have is that we all have sprinkler systems in our yards. And when we moved in, it was just dirt. They put sod down, and we had to water pretty heavily to make sure the grass grew. We're getting to that point again where we're approaching another season where the water is going to be going on the lawns, but not in the sewers. And so the problem we have is that the sewer company, which is the City of Lorraine Utilities, they will charge us for the amount of water used, assuming that all the water goes into the sewer. Well, it doesn't. So we have a problem because, for instance, when I got my water bill for a quarter last year, during high season, it was $583. And I believe similar numbers, my neighbors will attest to that as well. Well, it's an over 55 community. The majority of people in that community are retired and they're on fixed incomes. So when you get a bill of $500+, it's like a punch in the gut. What do? You can't budget for that. So we've taken this up, and there is a neighbor of ours, her name is Kristen Massey. She's not here tonight, she couldn't make it, but she has been working through a couple of different sources, and it turns out that the sewer organization keeps telling us and other areas of where we live that there's nothing they can do. Absolutely nothing we can do. But we also know that there's another Hovnanian community that's not far from us that actually resolved the problem by putting in what's called a deduct meter, where it's connected to the water supply, but the water that goes outside, it calculates that, and there is a number of how many gallons were being used through the deduct meter, which is water that goes out to the lawns, and then, of course, the other is the water that we use. So we would like to somehow resolve this problem as the other community did, the Hovnanian community did. But we're at a point now where we don't know where to go, because Kristen is actually a member of the board. She is the resident on the board for Jack Bradley, but that was 6 months ago when he said, oh, we're going to get to this and we're going to solve it for you. Well, she continues to try to reach him, and he doesn't return calls. So we're kind of stuck. We really don't know which way to turn on this. So I know you can't help us directly, but what we're here today is to try to find out, can you give us some direction on where we can go? Because we can't go through another season with these high sewer bills when they're not warranted. That's pure profit to the City of Lorraine Utilities, which isn't fair to anyone.
My first thought would be, I know when speaking to you before, one item that came up was talking to the homeowners association, getting a clarification on what is demanded from the residents as far as watering. Seems like there was some confusion over that, and there may have been some overwatering going on, and that in turn drove up some sewer bills. And I think there was a learning curve. It was pretty harsh, but there was a learning curve there of what to do with the watering, and people were watering too often and driving up the bills astronomically. But I think one of the questions that came up is, what do you need to do to comply with the homeowners regulations, and to look at those, and how stringent should they be, so that there isn't a lot of overwatering, so there isn't $600-700 sewer bill. One of those. That's one. As far as the rates, as far as the policy, that was the county signed a contract with the city of Lorraine. They took over the sewer, county took over the sewer lines, the hardware, and Lorraine agreed to provide water or to certain parts of the township that they were providing, and treat the sewage that comes down the pipe from what would then be the county lines. So that's how Lorraine got into it, and they base their treatment, of course, on water meters, in this case, rural water. So they do set the policy of how they bill and what they bill for, but people who sign the contract, people who are responsible would be the Board of Commissioners, would be the County Board of Commissioners. They're the ones that are responsible for that. Now,
Is it the City of Lorraine Water Commissioners?
no, it's the Board of County Commissioners.
The county commissioners? Okay.
Now, that's interesting, a deduct meter, not a separate meter, but a deduct meter.
A
you
deduct
said.
meter, which goes right in line with the plumbing that's in our homes right now. It's a device.
Okay.
It's got to be installed by a plumber, obviously, somebody knows what they're doing, but, you know, we don't have any problem with that.
Has anyone spoken with Rural Water on that? Lorraine County Rural Water Authority?
Rob?
Yeah, we called them, and they say they can't do anything, and then Lorraine, says, no, they're not gonna do it, and
This work? Oh, I'm Rob, okay. There you go.
And so they said, so then Christina, I've done a lot of talking with Christina, and she wrote a letter to Lorraine, and it got to the mayor of Lorraine, and the mayor said, oh yeah, this is not right, we're going to solve this for you. And so then she got in contact with like the assistant, somebody that's in charge of services or something like that.
Ray Carey on?
You know who
Yes.
the letter's from?
Here's the letter, it's actually addressed to the
I would just read that, maybe. Okay, and so they agree that it's not right and it needs to be fixed, and the mayor says it just takes time. And the other important issue is that we have documentation of is that the Keovanian in Elyria that was built in North Ridgeville, excuse me, and they shared the water or the sewer business with Elyria. And so Elyria then recognized it and said, okay, we're going to fix the problem. And we have 4 different pages up there that Rick has that stated how you do it. And they agreed, and this is how you do it. And so it needs to be, it's the same thing. It's not exactly, we're just, maybe in the beginning when we first put our lawns in, we overwatered a little bit, but, you know, we have the landscaper saying, okay, you know, both, some of us, Rick, I know, me, we paid, you know, $4,000 for our sod to be put in, you know, and so, yeah, we're going to water it, you know, but by the end, we're not overwatering now, and so we need to do and get Lorraine or whoever it is to allow us to do what Elyria did because they're good people. Instead of, I'm a school teacher, I can't afford $500 extra water, and I don't want to put in another, you know, $4,000 or $5,000 in sod again. Now, obviously, since it's already taken root, people are telling me, well, now you don't have to water as much. Okay, fine. So I probably won't water as much, but no, get it. The right thing is to give us a deduct meter. That's why they have deduct meters. Okay, so you got to do it needs deduct meters. That's why they have them. That's why they make them. So, you know, just saying we overwater too much is not the solution.
Yeah.
And I've lived in other communities, and another solution to the problem is to look at a year's worth of water bills in the past.
Yeah.
and then actually average out how much water we would use in non-watering months, and then, whatever those gallons are, that's taken care of, and then whatever's left is not going into the sewer, but it's going on the lawn. So,
Rick,
we
can I ask
we
you a
could break it
question?
that way as well.
What you're saying is another way to handle it, but I'll explain how Lorraine does it right now.
Thanks.
But first I wanted to ask, and it's already been confirmed, the Cahoe community you were talking about was not in Lorraine's facility planning area. Because Lorraine has, at this time, fought any type of deduct meter or offering the same benefits that they offer their own residents. Our township has actually been involved with a group, not the township Board of Trustees, but some of them participated with the residents in a lawsuit against Lorraine over this very issue. Believe it or not, you are paying 125% rate of an in-city resident today based on your water usage, but that's what you pay on the sewer. That is down from a 200% rate that they were charging us before. And it was ridiculous. And the logic that was given to us, and it was a different administration, it wasn't with Mayor Bradley there. When he came in, that's where we got it down to something more reasonable at 125%, which I still think is extremely high.
It is.
And particularly since the Board of Commissioners took on all the burden of the sanitary sewer infrastructure, and for the areas that Lorraine does provide water, which isn't your area, you have rural water, they also took on that burden. So they took away the cost, even though Lorraine lowered the rate, but it was a ridiculous rate anyway. They have a monopoly. We have no other person we can use. And I proposed a resolution to the former Board of Commissioners that was there at the time, that if this was too much expense to Lorraine, that to have Lorraine agree to allow us to be released from their sewer district where we could get sewer service from somewhere else when it became available. You think they'd take that deal? Absolutely not. Which tells you they do not lose money on a service where they control the fees. Now, you mentioned this Kristen. How is she tied to Lorraine?
Yeah, she's a resident.
Oh, but she's not in the administration of Lorraine.
Oh, no. She's just a resident.
Well, hopefully
That's
Mayor
what it is.
Bradley, because I like him, he seems honorable, but I don't know what he could get through his council if he has any say. If I recall, because they split it in Lorraine, I think council has control over the rates of the water and the administration over the sewer rates, but I may have that backwards. But I can tell you in the past, we received zero empathy from anybody up there. As a matter of fact, I'd even have some former council members say, well, your township people chose to live out there, too bad. If they don't like it, annex into Lorraine. And then they can get the in-city rate. I mean, these are the real responses that you get from people. They look at it as a money maker. The more money they get from the customers outside of Lorraine, the less they have to charge their in-city residents. And those are the residents that vote for Lorraine officials, not us. So what David suggested, going to county commissioners, that's one way to do it. I was hoping a county commissioner was due here this evening, but I just got a text message. He's at another meeting that ran long, so he won't be here. Would have been ideal had he been here.
Yeah.
With this group here. But let me explain what Lorraine offers to their residents that you don't get. If you're in the 55 and over community, I'm sure there's quite a few that are much more older than 55. Lorraine offers a senior citizen discount. Only for in-city residents. We don't get it. They don't allow deduct meters. We've had residents, because there's many other residents get their wastewater treated by Lorraine. I'm on Lorraine's system, so I pay the same thing you do. What Lorraine does, as opposed to looking at the overall year, they look in the wintertime. Because in the wintertime, you're not out washing cars, you're not watering lawns, you're not filling pools. Those are the big water demands that are out of the ordinary of your typical uses. So Lorraine takes an average of what that is in the wintertime and says, well, that's what you're using in the summer. But they don't offer that benefit to customers, I mean real customers outside, and you aren't treated as a customer. Because you treat customers well when there's competition. There is no competition for the sewers. We are forced into one user, a government monopoly that takes advantage of the people that are those customers. So I don't know, I certainly hope discussion with Jack Bradley will help. It will help, though, if we can get the county commissioners to agree. I can tell you that the county administrator, Jeff Armbruster, would probably be the person I would approach first. You will see later, if you guys stick around for this meeting, you don't have to. We're going to be talking about the potential sanitary project that the commissioners are looking at already, and it's created a lot of acrimony among different people, but it will prevent this very situation from happening. You talked about the Cahoe development in North Ridgeville, and North Ridgeville must work with Elyria for some water, but North Ridgeville operates a French Creek wastewater treatment plant. That plant services customers well outside of North Ridgeville. Everybody pays the same rate. When North Ridgeville overtook that, they call it a benevolent dictator, was the way the courts ruled, so that you couldn't do exactly what Lorraine is doing to us and our residents. You know, if you control everything, then treat everybody the same.
Yeah.
But that's not what is happening. And this has been fought for years with lots of money. And when the suit was settled, and I wish our township administrator was here because she was one of the individuals listed as one of the original people suing Lorraine. She could have even given you more detail, but it's probably more detail than you want to hear. But getting a change will be difficult. Now, there was one other option. I recall some people calling from back in Four Seasons when they first moved in, and since there were very few homes occupied at the time, I said, well, you've got quite a few detention basins out there with an awful lot of water. And the township required the developer to put in detention basins with more capacity than the minimum required and a slower release rate than the minimum required to kind of correct the sins of building we've had going on elsewhere where people put up single lots or sheds or put in patios and they don't have to meet any stormwater requirement that we require on the developers. But we wanted that, and I said, well, we've got all this water. Instead of sending it down the stream, I suggested the homeowners association talk with the builders and the developer and see if, you know, as long as it doesn't bring out a lot of sediment that's going to put brown dirt on your lawns, but perhaps you could use the free water, draft it out of the pond, and spray it on your lawns till they actually take root, you know, and can now start using the groundwater versus having to be watered from the surface. I don't know, and I don't recall the gentleman that had called me. I could certainly look it up on my phone because I probably have him listed as Amherst Township resident, but realize that phone list will come out and I'll have to, where's the name that's in Four Seasons. I don't know if they made that call. I don't know if they found out it was too difficult. I'm sure had you been one of the initial residents down there, you would have seen the water trucks that would have come through when they were first putting the seed in down there, generally on the mounds and some of the wide open. They weren't going to put down, you know, the actual turf. They're just going to spread down seed. So that's, well, David, I want to give these people a real option before you cut me off.
Well,
So I don't know if anybody's talked with that as far as being an option, but the ideal thing, we can't ask for anything more than what Lorraine offers their residents. But I can tell you right now what they do. There's a senior citizen discount, and as opposed to a deduct meter, which they don't even allow in their own city anymore, is they take the average of their winter usage, and,
Right.
and they'll list it if you look through their ordinances. It'll even tell you how many months within the City of Lorraine's ordinances, which are available online. You should be able to get the same thing. And if we get those, that'll significantly bring down the rates, at least your summer rates. It's not going to change things during the winter, but it'll bring down your summer rates, you know, when you're doing things like watering lawns or washing cars or bathing a dog or, you know, just sprinkling grandkids that come over. But I would probably suggest you start with Jeff Armbruster as far as within the political landscape. If you're not able to get a hold of Mayor Bradley or Safety Service Director Carrion. And then next, maybe see, what does CAHO say? Will they offer anything as far as watering your lawns and getting those lawns to take without using municipal water?
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, thank you very much. That certainly helps us move in the direction, so
Okay.
we'll keep you up to date.
That would
Okay.
be, that would be the question, would be whether or not Lorraine would accept the deduct meter. Has anyone spoken with the city of Lorraine on that? Neil
I
said
think
that,
I did, and they said they're not gonna come out and start reading the stuff.
It's simpler than that, though. That's going to cost you money to put it in. Why even bother doing that? Get the same thing the city of Lorraine residents get.
Right, just in the winter.
Yeah.
Right, water.
Right.
Exactly.
Then you don't have to worry about it.
You think it would be easier though, or you would have more clout to get these people together, and we could come to a meeting that you know everybody, you know the names, you know the phone numbers, and you guys could get a meeting and we could come to that meeting?
It's possible. The gentleman that called me before said he was going to invite me to the homeowners association meeting, and that's never happened. But it could have been that there weren't, there's more people there now. This would have been early on. Because he also had some complaints about the trucks riding back and forth and, getting dirt all over
I don't know about that.
his home.
I have one in my house. You, right?
mhm, yes.
But it's, I mean, it would be easier, I don't know, people, you have to talk to them together.
Yeah, I don't know about clout. I don't vote for him, but, I mean, I wish I did. If I had my say, it'd be the same rate. It's like, look, the rate that your residents are paying includes all the maintenance. So if you've got lift stations, you've got pumps going on there, you've got flow meters going on there, that's all covered. You don't have that burden here. We take care of that. We pay for that. You pay another bill going to the county's sanitary engineer.
Right, yep.
That pays for the maintenance of all the infrastructure. So that should be the difference. All they're doing is treating the water. They don't even have to come and get the wastewater. We send it to them. And the pump station that delivers it to them, we pay for that. So when you're just treating wastewater, what more is it costing you? You throw in a few extra chemicals, maybe? The added cost is minimal, and yet they're getting all that revenue coming in. But you got to think like a politician. A politician favors the people that vote for them. And unfortunately, none of us get to vote for any politician in the city of Lorraine.
I'm good friends with Joe Miller, our representative,
Oh, yeah.
a really good person. Does he have any jurisdictions over Lorraine or not?
Not directly. He knows the individuals. I can tell you that they all happen to be from one party, so there might be some help there. We didn't get help in the past. We did have 2 state reps had put up, I think they called it Fair Water and Sewers. It would have been 2 General Assemblies ago, that the Ohio Township Association supported overwhelmingly. And they recognize across the state, there are other, Lorraine's not the only one, other municipalities do the same thing. So they said, okay, you guys are you've got a monopoly. These people have no other choice of where they go. So we're not going to tell you you can't charge them more, but guess what? If you charge someone outside your city more than the in-city rate, you are no longer eligible for the grants that help pay for sewer infrastructure, the grants that pay for water infrastructure, or the low-interest loans. And I thought that was a great idea. And it died in committee. Because unfortunately, there were too many of the other representatives there that are actually from municipalities. Which way do you think they're going to vote?
Yeah.
So they just killed it by, you just like what happens at the federal level, believe it or not, happens at the state level. So it died. And because of term limits, those 2 went, one of them actually moved up to the Senate, but the other one's out. They've got 6 years to get a job done.
So who is the representative, state or Senate, in charge of Lorraine?
We've got, they're up for election now, but right now, your senator is Nathan Manning,
Yep.
and the representative is Joe Miller. So
Okay, so
those are the
Joe
two
Miller.
right now.
Right.
And I forget, is Joe's running for Senate now, I think?
Yes, he's going to move because he's, yes.
Yeah, and Nathan, I think, is going to run for representatives, and Joe is running against Gail
Gail.
Manning. So
And they
I
only
imagine
vote
right
for party
now,
line.
I would suspect none of them are going to stick their neck out. I mean,
Well,
that's
Joe would.
that. You know, so
Not with the election.
they'll wait till after the election, yeah. After November, so you're kind of stuck until then and going that route. But I would start with probably your best, I'd still talk with Joe Miller.
I will.
He's represented that area now for, this will be 6 years, and also with the county administrator, Jeff Armbruster, you know, to see what they can do. You know, even if they agree long-term, if they're not going to offer the same thing, agree that if there's an alternate provider, they'll give it up. Maybe they'll change their mind, because I always hear about how expensive it is for them. There's no real expense there.
Zero.
Yeah.
All they're doing is putting in chemicals. That water comes down, they make sure the right chemical mixture is in there to treat it and send it out. They are not responsible for any of the infrastructure.
So where's the money end up going? If these guys are paying $4,000 a piece times hundreds,
To
or
subsidize Lorraine residents.
so it brings their costs down.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Can you repeat the names? We're going to start writing these names down. Can you repeat?
To put it in an email form to Jeff Armbruster, because his calendar, I can attest, is
Do we have an email address for Jeff?
jarmbruster@lorainecounty.us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And his title is the county commissioner?
He's the county administrator.
County administrator.
Yeah, so he'll be like the workhorse for the commissioners, okay, and he'll actually know all the detail. He'll have his plate full, but he'll get to some of the right people, and I know he's involved in sanitary infrastructure today. And one of those items we will be discussing later here, just in the announcement of a western sanitary line that the commissioners have money for, which will actually impact our township also.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
David, if there's anything else out there for something else.
Okay, there's nothing else there. Anyone else wish to bring something forward to the board at all? John, do you have anything you want to say at this time, or you wait till later?
He's coming up.
You're coming up, okay. Later in the agenda, we'll handle that then. Okay, nothing else to come before or the audience. Move on to the next item, executive session. We don't have a need for an executive session at this time. Trust. Correspondence. No, do you have anything under correspondence, Jeremy? You know, do you have anything
I
under
do.
correspondence?
I do. Morgan, can you bring up the map for the potential jet expansion? Okay, we've got, just a reminder, is on April 28th at 7:30 PM, we will have a public hearing on expansion of the jet area with the city of Amherst. This was published in the Chronicle Telegram on March 20th, as required by the statute. You can see the areas are the ones that are highlighted in blue and yellow up here on the map. As far as anything going in there at this point in time, you're aware of Foundation Health Solutions putting in a nursing home and acute care facility. It has been reduced in size. It'll be a 99-bed facility. It's on the northern bend up there in blue, so south of Sandstone Parkway, which is the main snake going through there. And in the yellow, on the smaller parcel to the west, will be the McDonald's. The other areas are open for commercial development. I've been in contact with Mayor Costello, and Mayor Costello expects that he'll probably set their public hearing towards the end of April also. He's aware of the need to get this done. I know he's answered questions from council on this, because the township received a public records request on this, since one council member saw we had it on our website, and I'm sure it was someone else called him, and he started asking for information from us, and it's like we sent this all over the city, it's just the mayor hadn't had a chance to tell anybody yet. He got it on March 16th. So I know Mayor Costello discussed it at council last night, and I'm going to wait till he calls me back to say, yes, we don't need to send the exact same information we already sent over to the city, to send it individually to a council member. And it's all posted out in our bulletin board here. There's copies in the office of the township administrator, the zoning inspector, and the fiscal officer. So people should have the ability to see that. But David, just make sure that ends up on the agenda there for
The 28th.
the April 28th
Yes,
meeting.
April 28th.
Yeah. Okay, can we bring up the
Well,
document on the Tax Incentive Review Council meeting? Okay, we had a meeting on March 19th at the county regarding the different TIFs that are available, and I'll start off with the one for sandstone development, which is where the individuals, residents that are here currently live. They're actually, the sandstone TIF is 100% for 30 years, and there's a $30 million property value improvement within each TIF districts. There's 2 of them that trigger when the start of collection of the payments in lieu of taxes, which is affectionately called a pilot, to service the debt of the infrastructure supporting the sandstone development. That'll include the main sandstone parkway, the sanitary sewer infrastructure that's in there, left-hand turn lane on Overland Road, and various other items. There'll be some landscaping in there that's covered. There was a mutually agreeable agreements that was worked out between Lorraine County Board of Commissioners, the Amherst Exempted Village School District, and the Amherst Township Board of Trustees. That service agreement, originally the county wanted to take 100% of the township's money and said, well, we'll work out some deal. Well, we know how those deals work out. It wouldn't have been to our advantage. The schools they didn't expect the schools to participate at all, and they hadn't talked with them. We didn't think that was right. The township objected, and I said, do you mind if I talk with the schools, and did, and the schools were wonderful. You guys being from the 55-plus community, the schools love you. You don't put any burden on the schools and provide great revenue, and they saw that. The other TIF areas in the Redwood, the rental area that is north of you, and you're going to find the same thing. You're going to find singles or seniors that also add very little burden onto the schools. I'm sure you're seeing it already just based on where the children are showing up. They're over in Ryan Homes. I'm sure you see the kids on the bikes and running around and playing and screaming like kids do. And we estimated only 85 students, K through 12, coming out of that development of 670 homes. That's almost unheard of in Lorraine County. So the school's seeing that, and they recognize the township can't have this burden. Kevin's going to get 5 miles of roadway down there to take care of. No money. I don't think you people would be happy when you're driving over those potholes or your roads aren't plowed and salted because we have no money. So what the schools agreed to, and we all have the same deal, is that for the first 20 years is we will receive 65% of the tax revenue that we would have received had there been no TIF. So the other 35% goes to help pay for that infrastructure that's out there. Now, there are other county services, they won't receive their money. It will all go to that infrastructure. So children's services, mental health, 9/11, developmental disabilities, crime lab, all their money, which represents about 22% of what you pay in property taxes. And now there's some that get carved out, so it's around 20%. That will actually go to help pay for this infrastructure. But there might be some mental health issues there, especially after you see your water and sewer bill. But the reality is they're not seeing the huge hit there. And so they recognize that, and without those funds, the development wouldn't have happened. And obviously, the county wanted to see these funds. The county's number one source of revenue is sales tax. So and you don't get sales tax unless you have people. So they want people to get that sales tax, and they get, I think it's maybe 2.5, I'd have to look at it. They might be 2.5 mils in property tax that the county receives down in that area. So that TIF will be for the first 20 years, 65%. For the last 10 years, we get all of our money. So it won't be costing the schools or the township a dime, so we'll actually recover all of our funds, but the remaining public entities will still be paying into that TIF. As far as the chart that's shown up here, this is for Ryan Homes and K-Hove, the way I put this together. There's actually 192 homes that'll be built in Ryan Homes, 264 in K-Hove once it's built out. Ryan Homes has sold 65 lots to date, and they're looking at a sales pace now of 15 per quarter. This was originally planned as 10 per quarter. So they're actually selling at a higher rate than what the original plan was. Same thing's happening in the K-Hove development where you live. They're actually selling out faster than what the original plan was. So the way at the current rate that they're selling, they're really expecting by 2030 they'll be done. Now there's some other permitting and other things they have to run through that could hold it up, but that's what they're looking at. And where in this chart you'll see in 2022, when we received the agreement on the TIF, and this, trust me, took a lot of time and back and forth between all the different entities, especially when you get lawyers and financial planners involved. The plan was that for both Ryan Home and K-Hove in 2022, we were planning on sales amounts of $325,000 on the average. The average sale price in Ryan Homes to date for the first 40, $392,382. K-Hove, $436,910. So you get a smaller home, but you're paying a lot more for it. I don't know if the home's that much better or if it's because the people that are 55 and over are much wealthier than the people with young kids. One or the other. Yeah. The median sale price, and this is more for people that are statisticians or mathematicians or even insurance sales guys and actuaries, is $386,955 for Ryan Homes, $429,815 for K-Hove. So relatively a normal distribution, though skewed slightly lower than the average. The maximum sale price Ryan Homes to date for the first 40, so I'm sure, trust me, this is going to go up, $498,695. Keep in mind the TIF was based on $325,000 average. In K-Hove, the largest was $552,342. I hope that person's not sitting out here right now today. And realize you guys know the variation in those homes, so you know why some of them are going for a higher amount. The minimum sale price, Ryan Homes, was $321,545, one of the early ones, and K-Hove was $364,610. So again, even the range isn't spread real wide. So with what we have completed for Ryan Homes is now just a little under 15.7 million. K-Hove is 16.2 million. The TIF that was put together by the county had a trigger point of 30 million. They've actually hit that. So for that particular district, they won't start collecting the funds to go into the payment for the infrastructure until 2027. Realize the county doesn't want to start too early, and then they don't get the build rate because they are limited to 30 years. So they want to wait till it hits a certain trigger point where they start collecting and using those tax dollars to help pay for the infrastructure. But they're there. The language says when it hits 30 million, you've hit 30 million with less than 80 homes built down there, unoccupied. These are occupied homes. The second district, which is the Redwood division, that consists of 192 get the right one here. Redwood, I'm sorry, is the 200, that's the TIF District 1. That'll be the 205 rental units in that particular thing. That might vary a little bit because they've been playing around with going with some one-bedroom units also versus the two-bedroom units. And that's what, saying it's age targeted, most people with children aren't going to go for a one or two bedroom unit on a single floor. So it's just by the type of home, it's going to tend to be people without children. And then the rates are $1,800 to $2,500 a month. Now that's all inclusive, but that's also going to restrict, starting families with children. This is being built in two phases. The first phase of 151 units are already up. You guys have seen them, and I'm sure you see the people moving in there. Now, as of, this is almost 2 weeks ago, 95 of those 151 units were leased out. So they're going, and they expect the lease rate to be around 10 per month. I know when they first started them, I had talked with the sales agent back there, and she was like, boy, these guys got to get going because she's running out of, that's when they had the first 10 built, and she's like, I've got people coming through, want them, but I don't have any place to put them. So they started moving on that. So now the next phase will be 54 units. The builder expects that they'll have that done by 2027, another year. So in 2 years, they expect that to be done. In 2022, when the TIF was worked out, the estimated valuation for each unit, the living unit, was $150,000. If you take the 205 units, that works out to $30,750,000. The trigger point on the TIF for that district was also set at $30 million. But that rate, you see, it was set so it wouldn't even start until it's fully built and complete. So I don't expect that TIF to start soon because for the existing 151 lots, if we looked at that 30 million value, they'd have to be valued at $198,000 and change. I don't think the auditor's gonna value them at that much. If they do, I'm sure that Redwood is going to be screaming bloody murder. And that's a 32.5% increase since 2022. We all know inflation's been rough, but it hasn't been that rough. But in any case, I expect that TIF won't come into play if it's leased up in 2027. It's probably not even going to be 2028, 2029 before they start using those funds to help start paying back the bonds on that infrastructure. The last one was Hampshire Farms. We had to review at the Tax Incentive Review Council. That was a 51 home development on the east side of Oberlin Road, north of Middle Ridge. The last home there sold in April of 2024. They had actually started the collection on that last year, and in the first year they took in $87,891. Wasn't that much because of the timing of when people had moved in there, but now that it's all complete, they will start collecting the TIF across those lots. Now the numbers I have, these are the numbers as people purchased the homes. The range was from $274,790 to $390,998. But I think that $274,790 was an outlier because the next lowest home was $306,277. Realize all these homes were sold prior to 2024, so those numbers are 2 years old. If you value them today, they're probably going to be similar to what people are paying back there for the Ryan homes in the Sandstone development. That particular TIF, which had significantly less infrastructure, was a simpler 10-year 75% TIF. What that means is that the township and the schools are only receiving 25% of what they would have received had there not been a TIF. And again, that particular area does not have a lot of children there, so that one hasn't hurt the schools either. Okay, then we're done with the Tax Incentive Review Council, David, unless you have questions.
No, the only thing I would add from the Turk meeting was they still did not have figures for Hampshire Farms for the TIF on that. The total amount that the county was on the hook for, and how much has been brought in. That's the only thing I would add. Question, do you need any of these back? Hello,
Rick?
Rick? Do you guys need any of these back, or are these for our?
No, I have an email, so I can put more out.
Okay, oh, we can keep these, okay, good. Thank you for coming. We're
Marvin,
here.
can you bring up the...
Second and fourth Tuesday, usually we're here, so come down.
Thank you.
Okay, now, where are we at here?
Okay, we're going to go on the request for support of the Corps of Engineer 404 permit for the sandstone development. And I don't know, John, you want to introduce this? John's just asked us to write a letter of support to help him, and, you know, it'll go a long way in the permitting process. And everyone would have received that email, or should have.
Yeah, I got it.
Well, good evening. I appreciate the time. First, I want to apologize to Chris Kish. I send on the email to send out the information to the township. Fortunately, I had Chris's email address from Lorraine County, so that was a
Oh,
mistake
yeah, I
on my
did see
end.
that.
So I do apologize. That was not on purpose.
I made the same mistake multiple times. It's just the way it comes up. If you're not watching, it'll default
I
sometimes.
try and keep it very separate.
Yes, and I do apologize for that. So what I've asked for in the request was for support from the community to support our endeavor with our 404 permit with Army Corps of Engineers. You see these areas here that we've hatched. Those are the areas that are not permitted yet. This is an ephemeral area.
There's a pointer there, John, on the table.
Oh, yeah, here we go. I'm not quite tall enough, but this area here is an ephemeral area. It's about 2 acres, a little over 2.4 acres of ephemeral, so it's not wooded, it's not, it's category 1 wetlands, very low quality. And then up here, we've got some slivers, and I don't remember, it's like 0.2 acres and point something, 0.1 acres. These are treed and wooded acres, but they're very minimal impact areas. But what we do and what we have done in most communities, and we're doing this with the county, is we request from the community that we're doing work in to help support this endeavor for these impacts. As you can see, we could have impacted a lot more, and if you look at our original permitting plan, we had this whole area being impacted and some areas down here. And when you go in front of these permit agencies, you start with a grand plan and you try to work your way down to one that is more acceptable to the Army Corps of Engineers. And this is our final plan. So in lies why I'm requesting some support from the township to make these impacts. Keep in mind though too, as Neil had alluded to, there's certainly JED and TIF money that's been attached to per units in the community. So every home site has a value, and that value was applied when Don Romanchik did his calculations for the TIF. He utilized this plan to get us there. So every unit that you take away because you can't impact it, that affects the end result and how much money it's generating for the TIF. And then ultimately, I'm sure it has something to do with what the outcome of the JED would be too. So.
How many acres are you talking about in total, John?
2.4, I think. And that's actually, I can't read it, but it's 2.4 here, I'm sorry, 2.4, 0.23, and, what's this guy? Whatever this little thing is here.
You're talking maybe around 3 acres total?
Yeah, it's less than
We're not
3
talking
acres.
30, we're talking about around 3.
That's correct. It's under 3 acres, total impacts.
So what happens if this doesn't pass? You have to just leave it alone? You can't build houses on it?
You know, what happens, I mean, and frankly, like here, for instance, see, and I want to make mention that when we did our settlement agreement, we had a road that went through here like this, but we worked with the township to make sure that we kept the roads away from the main road of all the homes that are along here. So yes, what would happen is we wouldn't be able to build this section, and we would have to put a cul-de-sac here. But one of our arguments is that we because the court, they're saying, well, how come You don't go all the way out here, and we said, well, no, we work with the community.
Township said no. That was part of the give and take, the
Absolutely.
settlement agreement.
So yes, to answer your question, we would have to forego these home sites and these home sites here, if we didn't get the permit granted through this process.
But this is just supportive, it's not anything to do with the permit.
No, all
It's indirectly.
yeah, you're not implying, and I'm not implying that you have anything to do with the actual permit getting approved, but it is saying that this community, this project is something that's helping the community, assisting with some of the things that we've heard tonight, and so we offer support in its permitting. But of course, it's not putting you on the hook that you are owed anything, or,
We're not approving anything.
you're not approving anything.
We're not passing anything. We're just sending a letter of support according to what I understand.
That's what the intent is. And you're not the only ones. We have the commissioners are writing a letter. We've got stormwater, the Lorraine County Stormwater District is writing a letter. Various other politicians and people like that have an interest in the growth of Lorraine County. And a project like this is one of those projects that help propel the county where it needs to go, at least in their mind.
What has been the hang-up with that? I believe it's Cutler Court. Is that the right
Yeah,
name of
that's
it?
what this is. This is covered.
I believe that because that was, in essence, pulled, shall I say, pulled from the development plan, and the subdivisions around it were both north and south were approved, but that wasn't approved because there was always a holdup there. There was always a wait. And I was under the impression it was the wetlands.
Let me explain
And I just
that.
wondered,
Let me explain that. So what we did was 5 years ago or 6 years ago when we started the project, the Army Corps had a different way of looking at wetlands. So this was when you go out and you see how many wetlands you have and you look at the perimeters of wetlands and you get something called a jurisdictional determination. I don't know if you know what that is, but basically it's our consultant says these are where the wetlands are, and we take them to the Army Corps and they send somebody out and they both work together and they come up with this determination of what a wetland is. And that's what the map shows. And then over the course of the last 4 years, there's been some changes in the regulations which determined that all wetlands are not going to be permitted the same. So it went back to where you have isolated wetlands that are run by the state of Ohio 401 program, and you got 404 wetlands that are run by the Army Corps. So the delay that you're talking about is what we did was we went to the JD and we said, okay, let's declare what are isolated and what are adjacent wetlands. And so we went and permitted all these little pieces with the state of Ohio and got a 401 permit. That went all through its process. We had to get that out of the way first. Now we're in for the 404, and that's with the Army Corps of Engineers, and these are the ones that they say they have connectivity to waters of the U.S. Now, in this case, obviously, these are very low-quality wetlands, but they have been assessed as connections to waters of the U.S. So that was the delay. That's how that sort of worked out.
is this something that would be mitigated? Is this a
Absolutely.
mitigatable wetland, like you destroy them, you mitigate them?
Yeah, what we've done is we went and bought, 4 years ago, we bought all the credits that we needed to mitigate these wetlands, which are 2 to 1, by the way. So as we mentioned, let's say there's 2.5 acres, we actually had to go buy 5 acres. And we paid $65,000 an acre to do that. But we had to buy those, we purchased them before we even applied for the permit. We actually had to show that we could mitigate for them. So we've already done it, already paid for it, and we're just waiting for the permit.
Where are those 5 acres?
That's a good question. I am not sure. I can get you that information. I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah,
And the reason I do is because I've mitigated a lot. We've got different banks that we have used over the last few years. One is in Charlemont, and I don't know how many acres we took from there. There's another one in Northeast. I can get you the information.
Okay, I'm just curious. And, you know, I wasn't part of this as the years and everything and all this developed, but as far as community support, it's always funny to me, like there seems to be this disconnect. You know, you have commissioner support and all these government offices of support. When I'm out in the community talking to the people, like nobody wants these developments. And it's like, people understand, yeah, we need housing and we need more taxes for the township and everything, but as far as like the community and us being elected officials representing the community to support more housing going in, I think that's like kind of a tough pill to swallow for me.
Well, it's interesting that you've got a bunch of new residents here.
And that's the whole
because of
thing,
this.
is like, yeah, the residents are coming into the township, and it's kind of a catch-22, you know? But as far as the existing people in the township that want to keep it rural and protect the wetlands and protect the natural resources and protect the farmland and prevent it from all getting developed, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a various groupings of people that have different opinions on how a community should grow. And I think that Amherst, because of its positioning and its sewer capacities and water capacities and things like that, you have to expect some growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think really, and this is a different subject matter, but as you look at zoning throughout the state, you know, the state looks at, they would love to just take over all the townships and have no townships.
They tried that in the last General Assembly, and they went all around the state to take the zoning away from the townships and turn it over to the counties.
I've heard about
fact.
that down there.
That's a
crazy.
fact, because I wrote opposed to that.
Well, I think the drivers of those things are these kinds of subjects, though, because
Yes.
the big push is affordable housing, which I know some of the numbers you say that might not be affordable, but actually that's what's available
They're
today.
buying them, which means this whole group, I guarantee you all owned another home somewhere.
Oh, like in Florida or something like that.
They left that home, came
Well-
here, that home
Oh,
comes
I guess.
open for a younger family to buy.
Yeah, I think that.
You know, John,
Yes, sir.
you know, when they first proposed this, I think they were saying, what, 300,000 for homes, and the homes are going for like 400,000. And the same thing with Hampshire Farms. They were proposed for one, but they went for more. And I don't think that the developers turn down that extra $100,000 if they can get an extra $100,000 out of the house. Granted, labor's up and material is up, but the point is, the market is what drives the price of the home. You can blame, you know, local governments and stuff, and to an extent, but to an extent, it's the market. So most of it's the
I
market.
would say that. I would agree with that.
You know, if you built a house for 300,000 and you could only get 200,000 for it, eventually you're probably going to sell it for 200,000 and take the loss just to get rid of it. I mean,
Well, just
the market drives it. The market drives it. Not that you want to do that. Of course, you won't be in business long, but the point is, you will get rid of it. You will dump it rather than sit on that. But
Well, I just want to clarify
make,
me, David. I just want to clarify. I'm a developer, so I will be honest with you that we signed a contract with Ryan Homes and KF Indian Homes for a lot price. And even though they're charging, no, I just want to explain, even though they are getting more money and they're charging lot premiums, things like that, my base price is still the same. My price, it goes up 3% a year, I think, but that's not keeping up with inflation. So I myself am not rolling in a bunch of money, I'll be honest with you. So, but yes, the builder is commanding through the market. I agree with that.
I can see, and sometimes if you get a good price on a property, I like to think it has something to do with the area, and I like to think that we're responsible for that area. And
Yeah, I agree.
not only us, but our community, and it's everyone that lives here. And I feel like when developers come in, they take advantage of that. They want to sell off that. Those realtors out there, they don't want the address, even though it's Amherst Schools and Amherst Township. They don't want the address to say anything about Illyria. I grew up with Illyria. It doesn't bother me, but to them, they're afraid of it. Oh, we don't want Illyria because people think it's Illyria, or because Amherst, because they think they can get a premium on it. And I really feel, you know, the feeling is they come in, take over, and things that you built, they just make money on it, and then they leave, and when everything's finished, and you got to deal with everything. And you've seen, they're coming in, but you've got problems. We're going to get more problems. That's the nature of the beast. And the problems are going to be urban problems, urban, suburban problems, and we're going to have to deal with them. And it's going to be more and more. And we've got an administrator now. We didn't used to have a township administrator, but you know what? We need that administrator. We'd be going bonkers if we didn't have her. You know, that's just an example. yeah, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get,
I
you know, we're
think,
gonna grow and there's gonna
yeah.
be more staff here, because just to handle the volume of things. People can understand that.
Well, I think smart
But-
growth is what you need to do. I think you do have that. I think you have zoning in place that controls some of that. But as I mentioned to you,
Well,
what you
John,
don't
I
want
could
is the
say
state to
something-
tell you something. That's what.
I'll say something to you. Yeah, you can have all the zoning in place, but if you go to if you have to go to a court and do a settlement that really just kind of makes up its own zoning, then the zoning that you have doesn't mean too much. Doesn't mean too much.
It's a big conversation. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, obviously, that I'm not in the political business. I'm in the, I'm here to provide
Yeah,
housing
yeah.
for people that need homes. That's my job. And actually, that's how I feed my family. That's how I pay my mortgage and all that good stuff. So to me, it's a philosophical question if we're changing the landscape of Amherst Township to provide for people that need homes. You know, for me, it's a teeter-totter that, you know, I'm going to lean towards trying to get people in their homes. So it's very, especially a piece like this that is in an area that is right at the turnpike and right at a major state route. It's not out in the field somewhere. It's where the community is happening right now. And this is where it's going to grow, and this is where it should grow, right here, right in that core.
John, can
Yes,
you
sir.
explain to me why someone would want to protect or preserve a wetland? What's the benefit of a wetland?
Well, if you look at the Clean Water Act that was created, they're supposed to be filtering water. They're supposed to be keeping the water purer or better or what have you. I'm not using technical terms. But the Clean Water Act was created because Cuyahoga River got on fire, and we decided we've got to really do something. And over the last 30 years or what have you, that level of, I'm going to use the word control, that may not be the right word, but that level of control has continued to rise. And even up to 10 years ago, we had stormwater ponds that dealt with just stormwater flooding and things like that. Now these ponds are to help clean the water. So, you know, as we've tried to improve water quality, the wetlands have gotten stricter in terms of what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do.
There's a reason I asked that, and I was hoping you would answer it that way. I wasn't sure, and I figured you've got the knowledge on it. The main area show with the roughly 2 acres up there, I know that area very well. That area's been farmed, it's been tilled, it's been beans, it's been corn. It's obviously had herbicides and fertilizers and insecticides put down on there. So your wetlands has been filtering all the chemicals that go down there. We'd run up whenever they come in and shut all our windows whenever they'd be going through there because we didn't want it coming through the house. So the wetlands are actually the filter, but those wetlands have been defeated for years because that was all farmed. The other areas were predominantly apple orchards, but that's not impacted where you're showing here. This was all tillable. Where it really got wet was a deep plowed one year. It was always leased out for farming. I don't know who came in there, but they tore up all the field tile. There were pieces all over the place, and they pulled out our property pin because I live down there, so that little flag you see coming off Oberlin Road?
This is right here.
Yes. So the northwest pin was pulled out of the ground because the guy came right through as he was plowing, just yanked our property pin right out. And, you know, we weren't real happy with it because, you know, but they see open area. The guy doesn't know the area that well, but the worst was it created that wet area. And as the years went by, now some guys would try and plant it. Most of them, they finally realized their yields were down, or if they hit it the wrong time of year and we got a big rain, it killed everything back there. But that has always been farmed. Now the other one has not. I looked at some of the old aerials because I know there were farm areas back there. That one was predominantly a treed area.
Yeah,
The smaller
This
one.
is a woods line that runs up through here. Now, this has been.
Yeah, so it wasn't tilled, so.
Yeah, you're right.
But I just want to get what the purpose of a wetland is, because now I want to go back to the negotiation. Jeremy wasn't here. David would only hear what I bring back to him, because I mean, you remember the negotiation, you got a judge's magistrate, you've got you and Tom, you've got me coming in, I'm talking with attorneys, and there were times we had what we called the interveners, we had our attorney, the resident's attorney, and we all sat in here and discussed these things, what people wanted. And, you know, it decreased the intensity and density of your development tremendously, but one of the big keys was that stormwater management. And the residents tend to be more concerned with the volume and flooding than they are with the quality, but from the township, we had handled both.
That's great.
By having that larger capacity helps reduce the flooding. And we got the flooding on Stang Road, 2 places, and multiple places on Oberlin Road. This should help relieve it, because now you can hold a larger volume. The slower release rate should give the higher quality, doing the exact same purpose for the reason for protecting the wetlands, because it allows that water to set there longer so the sediment goes to the bottom. Now, you know, during the construction phase, you had to put surface skimmers on there. You couldn't even have the water release from the lower end below the freeboard area. You actually had to put skimmers in to take it off the top to make sure it's settled even, you know, more of that, so it's sending out clean water. So you're serving the purpose of the wetland. Other people think wetlands are for wildlife. Well, it may be slightly different wildlife than more bugs you get in wetlands that aren't a lot of water all the time. I can tell you that area is full of ticks. We wouldn't let our dog go back there because the ticks were ridiculous, but I don't know why they like that. It's just the plants that came up there when it wasn't tilled would be the tall ones that ticks like to hang on. But you go to every one of these detention ponds, you got all sorts of wildlife. Right now you got the frogs, you got the turtles, too many geese. You know, probably have to chase some of them away. And I'm sure in time we're going to find fish in there. You know, they're not there yet till somebody throws them in or a bird drops them in, but they will be there. I tend to be more pragmatist. I agree with Jeremy. You talk with any residents, if you send out a survey, they're going to say no. Once I'm here, nobody else comes in. But from a practical matter, you're worried about your property rights, and I understand that. I live there. I didn't want to see this, but I understand I don't own it. If I don't own it, that property owner has rights, and the previous property owner always had that up for sale. The only legitimate hit they finally had was going to be a marijuana grow facility. Thank God they didn't get the license for that. You know, I was hoping they didn't, and they didn't. So we ended up with this housing development, but when we don't own it, we can't tell someone else what to do with their property. We do want them to comply with the zoning. The township did turn it down. We ended up in court. And the interveners that brought their own attorney realized we could have stayed firm, and we made it clear. You tell us, you want the township trustees to say no, keep telling these guys no, we're going to tell the judge no, we're not going to agree. One of two things going to happen. The judge could rule in our favor. As David, you indicated, probably not. Could agree to some in-betweener, but that's why they like you to negotiate on your own. Judge doesn't want to make that decision. Or make a decision that favored them. And if the judge made a decision that you didn't like, you could have annexed that property to the city. And the other attorney saw that could happen. And he explained it to our residents. Listen, you might win this battle, but you might lose the war. And once it becomes the city, you know how, I don't care what zoning, you know how much say we have in what goes on here? Zero. Zero. And since we got off on what the settlement was, let's think about this and asking for our support. I do support it. I support it because this helps us in economics. It helps us in the safety that's out here. You know, the two biggest things that we've got to have. So, and it's going to help in the health. So we're cleaning the water. Safety, we don't have a railroad now that limits the emergency access coming through. They've got a way for our ambulance, police, and fire to get now to the southern part of the township without having to find out if the train's blocking the intersection or two trains coming by, so they get the people quicker. we've got the economics we worked out. I explained to these residents what we worked out for the schools. This is tremendous amount of funds coming to the schools. To get this in as part of the settlement, they're required to have a JED for the commercial area, which will bring income tax revenue to the township, which we can only do in partnership with the city and with the property owner agreeing to that, which we've got here. The additional revenue by having these other homes and the negotiation, we actually get for our park fund from each unit that is built. That directly comes to the township. Ryan usually gives, here's his report. The park fees, is this just this year?
Yeah, that's
The
year to date.
$9,250 just this year. You don't have the cumulative from the previous year?
Not on me, no.
Okay. So that's just this year, $9,250 so far in the first 3 months coming to the township for park fees. Now, we'd like to use that for capital or purchase of additional parkland if the right situation arrives. We don't want to use it for maintenance. So, Kevin's got to repairs at pavilions, the backstops, mowing, needs a new lawn. We're trying to avoid that if we can. It doesn't restrict it in any way, though. So that's part of what this settlement agreement was. John talked about originally, this road was to come through Oberlin Road. We said that is going to cost us tremendously and be a safety issue because every place you put an intersection is a motor vehicle impact area. Not only does that cause damage to people's property, somebody can be injured or somebody can be killed. And the thing people don't like to hear when you're talking about people getting hurt, there's a cost. For us, every incident is $800 to $1,000 it costs the township. So we said, we need to eliminate one of those, and I know that was, we didn't even have the trustees all in full agreement. Some said, oh no, we need more intersections for safety to get people in and out. I'm sorry, if they have to wait because they come around the wrong way and there's a train, they'll learn real quick, go down 58. Now you got a predictable time and plan your time when you got to go to work or shopping or wherever you're going to go, because everything coming to the east is all residential and farmland. All your commercial activity is to the west, and if you're heading towards Cleveland, you may have to drive around or take your chances and wait for a train. I mean, that's what will happen, but we eliminated that motor vehicle impact area. We eliminated all those homes coming down. And John, can you point to that white area just to the east of that, where the wetlands is? You see that open area?
This area, Sam?
Nope, go to the east.
Right above.
Go, you're right, yeah. Why didn't you put any homes there?
Well, we said we wouldn't build beyond.
You couldn't. We said we took an average of all the homes on Oberlin Road and 113, and we said you need to be 750 feet back from the center line of the road. And then we negotiated, though our zoning for what you were asking for asked for a 25-foot buffer, we said we need a 50-foot buffer. The township trustees discussed, what do we want? We said, well, it's got to be 25, but ask for 50. And if you remember what I asked for 100. Unfortunately, you guys said no. But we settled on 50. I'll tell you now, we were willing, okay, we'll take the 25 if we have to, because that's what the zoning says for the type of zoning you're asking for. But so now you're 800 feet before a lot. Then you have the rear yard before you have a house. Okay. So that area ends up being a conserved area. Now I know we've got 2 new families that already built their homes there, and the third lot was sold, and I understand they're going to be building soon. People tend, they see that, and that's their playground. I'm going to leave that up to the homeowners association to decide what they do in the future with that. But we were expecting that to become the new natural, would it eventually grow on its own?
That's actually what is planned here is, I don't know if you've been there, but you see a bunch of dirt being stockpiled here. The intent is to bring the road through and then mound this with all topsoil. And that will be a buffer then from all that.
Right. But that was all in negotiation. Remember what I first told you? And you get 2 lots on Oberlin Road. You guys pushed back for 3, and you showed me all the smaller lots on Oberlin Road. which made it difficult to argue it, so we settled on 3 instead of 2, because we have minimum of 125-foot frontage. So we said, okay, it's going to be 1 acre, 125-foot frontage, so when you're driving down Oberlin Road, you don't even see that development. You figure you're still in the township, and you don't even have to know that development's back there. It all looks the same. Well, those 3 are still nice-sized lots. They're 100-foot lots, you know, and they sold pretty quick, you know, because there's people that want the big lots too. And so that gives them the opportunity to get the big lots, you know, and then they've got that nice big buffer going behind them. The other advantage by reducing that other intersection, we said with the traffic intensity we have currently on Oberlin Road, is that we wanted to have only one point of control. Hopefully we never need a traffic signal. We didn't think we did, but we definitely wanted to put in a turning lane. Those turning lanes are expensive. If you put in 2, we would have had that whole Oberlin Road would have been like a 3-lane road from curve to curve.
It does come down about here, I guess.
Yeah, it's quite a bit by the time you get done.
Well,
And so, David, let me make sure that Jeremy understands everything that went in here, and before we get to it, because I'm hoping you will support this, what he's requesting in here. Besides potholes, Kevin, you know this, after the potholes and road conditions, what's the #1 complaint we hear from our subdivisions, particularly Hidden Valley, not the smaller one, where there's not much traffic? What's the biggest thing they complain about?
Well, it's all pretty equal, and that'd be about everything.
Well, the one I hear the most, not the catch basins, not the storm things, but the speed. There's everybody speeding,
Yeah.
you know, and racing through. When the negotiation started, this road, remember we wanted the roundabouts? And at first you kind of agreed till you saw how many houses you were going to lose. And you came back with the option of providing the roundouts for the roundabouts, so they're strictly in there to manage traffic. So what you've got is a nice static traffic control device. You don't need a police officer, you don't need a stop sign, you don't need a traffic light, but guess what? It slows the traffic. We originally had one over there at Mile Away at the first entrance, and we did concede to give that one up because of the short distance from Oberlin Road. I don't know if that was a wise decision or not. I know it helped you, but it was like, okay, we'll concede that one because it moved the other roundabouts, you know, over that way versus where we originally had the roundabout moved up there. And yeah, they might be too close. I can tell you the county engineer originally was going to set that speed limit at 35. They found out you can't.
You're right.
So the nice thing is it got reduced to 25, but I'll challenge people, especially those with a large truck, to drive through there at 35 miles an hour without having to run over those roundouts. You know, you're just not going to do it. Because of the design with the curves and putting those roundouts, you've got a natural way of controlling traffic, which is improving the safety for everybody back there. So, you know, I mean, this negotiation had an awful lot of different items that were put into that. All of Redwood up there, and I know we had it either way. You know what the township pays for roads and storm sewer maintenance up there?
Nothing.
Zero. For them to get, we said if they're going to be rental units, they have to respond. We trust me, we tried to get this whole development to be private roads. But, you know, that wasn't going to happen. So
well,
we took what we could. So, well, David, I want you to understand, because I've heard consistently about we want to maintain the rural feel, but we have to understand the reality here is we are getting chewed up with annexation. Since I've been here, we've been successful in beating every annexation attempt. We've had the attempt from Amherst, we've had the attempt from Lorraine, we've had the attempt from South Amherst, and we've got the attempt from Elyria. And we beat every one. And it usually involved negotiation. One was a procedural error, but then it worked out negotiation to do it. But we have to accept when someone else owns the property, they have property rights. And if we stick too tough that we're not allowing any development, it's going to happen. It just won't be Amherst Township. It'll be Amherst, it'll be Elyria, it'll be Lorraine, or it'll be the village. That's the reality of the situation. So all we can do is manage it as best we can, recognizing we're never going to please everyone. There's always going to be some unhappy people, but I think I've heard it said at a previous meeting, you know, if you go, think 10 years out from now, all the people living back here will be the ones that want no development anymore. That's what's going to happen. As soon as you come in, now you want things to stay, because you don't like change. You get used to an area. Trust me, we love looking out the back and looking at those woods. But we recognize they weren't our woods unless we own the land. And we didn't own it, so we have to accept it. I mean, that's the reality. But I think we negotiated on behalf of our residents the best we could. So now everyone along Oberlin Road is good. We've got, can you show, John, there's also the mound going around for the people on Oberlin Road. That was also negotiated. And then you've got the detention pond, which gives on the one even more of a buffer. That was all the buffer, all those residents that own those large lots. And then you've got the treat area. You can't see the 113 area. Can you move it the other way, Morgan? Go to the south. Okay. So on 113, those are all deep lots, but you see they got the nice buffer going all along there. And then it's up to the people there to keep their trees. Trust me, the new people that are going to move in here, they will scream if those trees come down. And I've already heard someone ask about it. Actually met them at ESP Brew. I said, listen, I said, those trees are not on your development. So it's up to those property owners on 113 what they do with those trees. But I don't think, in reality, they're not going to take them down. Yeah, they're not going to take them down, because I said, as much as you want the trees and you don't want to see their homes, they don't want to see yours either. So they're not going to take those trees down. They're going to stay up.
Well, these are those bigger
So are we signing or no?
That's the other thing that was negotiated. All those perimeter lots are larger
I have a
lots.
half hour.
I
I have
have,
9 o'clock. I got to go.
okay.
Well, that's okay. I think this is important that everybody understand this, because a decision needs to be made here.
All right.
And right now, I
Make it.
just sense that it's an anti-development decision, but we have to recognize property rights across the board, and that's the difficulty when you sit in this chair.
Well, my question, John, you know, I want to ask you this.
Yes.
Now, I wasn't there, Neil was there. People are reputable, trustworthy. The attorney with the residents was there, you know, a good attorney and whatnot. He said an annexation, this property would be subject to annexation. What was the annexation? Which properties? I know the consolidated property, but it wasn't contiguous to Amherst, so there would have to have been an intervening property, and I just wondered what was the path that it was going to take?
It's funny, we've had a lot of conversations about that.
I know which property it was, and that was provided to Al Schrader, who was the attorney for the interveners, David. And I'm not going to give that owner's name out, but I can tell you that they looked at annexation actually before I became a trustee. Since I lived in this community, that was the first thing I did, was fight an annexation of the city of Amherst, of all that area along 58. And that was a fight to get sewers.
Yeah, and I don't want to, yeah.
Yeah, don't mention the name, but I can tell you, this individual, Ryan knows, was looking at annexation again. And I think I talked him off the ledge, because I think we can offer him everything he could get from the city. And I think there's some other difficulties that he'd run into. But the reality is, if we would have said no, this would no longer be the township. That's a fact. I mean, if I were in the business myself, if that were my livelihood, I'd probably take the same path.
I love the idea of the mitigation, but that's not, if you're doing a 2-to-1 mitigation, that's not in Amherst Township, though.
Well, it won't be in the
Necessarily.
township, it's in the watershed, the Black River watershed. So that's what they require. It has to be in the same watershed so that you actually provide more. And then let me explain too, that The primary one is the ephemeral area, and as we mentioned, that's really a farm field that's very wet. When they create this new wetland, it's got trees, and it's just a different class of wetland than what was there previous. So you're actually giving more wetlands, but you're actually doing a better job at actually creating it, and they've got to monitor it for 5 to 10 years and all this kind of stuff. So it's protected. Different than this where anybody could have went back in there and farmed it. I mean, I could go farm it now if I wanted to. And actually, before we got our JD, we should have farmed the property. I mean, we should have went back in and farmed it. Like a lot of these little areas, we would not even have this was all farm. We wouldn't have had to do any of this mitigation, but we did it. Because we didn't pre-farm it before we had the JD done. So the mitigation is a real thing, and it's not cheap. You know, it's matter of fact, it's very expensive, frankly. If I pay $12,000 an acre and I'm paying $65 for a wetland, plus I got to pay twice, that's $130,000 for a $12,000 wetland.
And that's already been done for these segments, you're saying?
That's correct. We already purchased the credits early. We spent about $690,000 on wetland credits for this project. And again, I mean, it's economics to me, but it's money we're trying to recoup. You know, that money, not only is it spent, but then we've been carrying it, so to speak, you know, cost to carry on your money. So it's not a cheap proposition, but it also is, in good faith, ephemeral streams really ephemeral wetlands have not been a huge issue of getting a permit, nor do we think it's going to be a huge issue now. But, you know, we like to cross our T's and solicit as much community support as we can get. That's the reason why I asked for the
I do like the idea too, if we were going to buy a park, like if we were going to expand a park with this money, if that was like a designated way of utilizing the increased funding for it.
We can use it for that.
Well, that was the park fee, correct?
Yeah, the park
Yeah,
fee.
I mean, we specifically wanted to do a park fee for this project because we knew that, and we've done it in other communities where that generates that extra dollar that can help per unit give you an opportunity to choose what you want to use that money for. But usually it is related to some sort of recreational use. Like I know Neil mentioned fixing the roads, but that isn't what I would assume you were.
No, it's not. Yeah, and we just had discussions of where we want it, John. I mean, particularly I can tell you the only one we've added, well, there's two, but the one that was for parkland was we were able to get an additional 3.5 acres adjoining the Middle Ridge Road Park, which through a Nature Works grant and some township funding, put in a walking path. And it's got to stay in a natural area, and that's been a great addition. You see all sorts of people. Our park was used more by people that are active, but the question is, what do you do about those that aren't real active but want to get out and enjoy it? Well, that was the ad. There was more land there we certainly would have liked, but the price just wasn't right.
Well, I think my thoughts on wetlands, well, in this specific case, the wetlands, it seems like it's been taken care of, and it's really, throughout the process, everything was the zoning was done for, anything dealing with the wetlands was between you and the Army.
That's correct.
It's pretty much out of our hands. It's not ours. So whether or not we have a letter or sign a letter, it's nice that you asked us, but it's really a moot point. We don't have anything to say about it. That's the way I look at it. And the second thing, wetlands, they are a filter. And you start taking all the filters from one area and putting them somewhere else, it's really foolish because it's like taking all the filters of all cars in a parking lot and putting them on one car. Yeah, you've got a filter for every car, but they're all on one car. They're on one car. That's not going to do the other cars any good. So I like it like that. And the third item about wetlands is they're wet for a reason. They're wet because they're low. And there tends to be, if you build in wetlands, drainage problems in the future. That's the way water wants to go. That water's going to go that way, and you could very well have water problems, flooding, wet basements, et cetera, over the course of time. So those three things I'm kind of shy on. Wetlands, you know.
Well, let me-
Wetlands,
Let me explain that one thing. though.
mitigation.
Let me explain this one thing, David. One thing, what's happening now, though, you see this area here, how the water is just coming up through here? Jay has already mentioned his concerns about.
Yeah, but his concerns go to the north, if I understand correctly.
What I'm trying to explain, trying to indicate is, one of the things about what we're doing here is, we're gonna be capturing all this area that's wet and holding water. We're capturing and putting it into infrastructure and putting it in these basins. So what happens is it's controlling flooding now. It's actually cleaning the water so the ponds are letting it settle out. There's also controlling flooding. And it'll stop that permeation, at least into his property, as much as it's doing today. So the intent is really to try to control the water. Exactly what you're concerned about, that's the point of putting the infrastructure in, to stop that.
Plus you've daisy chained those detention basins together, and you take most of it, not all of it, but you take most of it to the east, but it stops, it goes in the main detention basin and sends back west, which cuts off almost a mile of travel of all that volume of water through the Bat House ditch before it finally empties out in the east branch of Beaver Creek. Now you're taking it direct, which is helping alleviate some of the flooding that we've had on our roadways. You know, that's another difference that you've got. There would have been a lot cheaper just throw it into the Bat House ditch. But when we went through negotiation, we didn't want that either. You know, we're trying to eliminate some of that flooding.
Now, that cost was almost $600,000.
I know it was expensive,
But it got something done. you
your
know.
engineer even agreed to it, though.
Well, it got done, and we agreed to it too. I mean, actually, I saw the value of it, though. If you looked at the outflow here, up here, it was a very small outflow and a very small ditch system versus bringing it over here to the stream, and it ultimately comes back over here.
Right.
So it was the right decision for this region, and the costs were taken care of. But again, that's the reason why.
How big is that tile that goes under the turnpike, John?
What's
How
that,
big was
sir?
that tile? How big is the tile that goes under the turnpike that takes that stream?
I'm not really sure, David.
Isn't there a limiting, isn't there a throttling factor on that? I mean, it can only take so much, and then it's gonna start backing up.
Are you talking about this over here?
Yeah, that's where the preponderance of the water is going, correct?
Yeah, it's all coming over here now. but-
Yeah, it's gonna go out that stream,
Yeah, this
and that
comes
stream
over.
goes under the turnpike. There's a tile that runs underneath the exit there and comes out the other side. And that tile is only so big, and it's gonna only hold so much water.
I'd agree with that.
Anybody come up with how much water that could hold?
You gotta keep in mind, though, it's not, and I don't
And rate,
know.
it's size and rate, I understand.
There's actually a ditch system that goes along the turnpike. So
Yeah.
what it does is it leaves our property and goes along a ditch system, and wherever that, I don't know exactly where that stream, where that goes. But I don't remember it being a pipe, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, I agree with you. If there was a pipe,
Because I know
yes,
when
it has a limit. I agree.
When they built the exit, there was something about a pipe.
Okay.
That went through and that had to be rerouted, and there were some mitigation factors on that. But anyway.
I would love to answer. I don't know, to be honest with you.
So, one last
All right.
question then too. If this,
Sure.
this project's obviously been going on for many years, been through a lot of different phases. You've already purchased the mitigation. Why is this just an issue now that it needs to get a new permit? Like, why wasn't this pushed through years ago when all the planning was going on with this?
When you do these kinds of permits, like I mentioned before, when the regulations change, you have to change your approach. When we started this project, the wetlands were all considered under the purview of the 404 permit. And so you had to mitigate for the isolated wetlands and the jurisdictional wetlands. Well, about 3 years ago or 2 years ago, whatever that might be, there was a new court case that came out, and they changed those regulations. And what it did was it gave the power of the state the ability to specifically permit the isolated wetlands, which is then what we did was we stopped our permit with the Army Corps, had to go through the state, get through those isolated permits, and now we're through that. Now we're on the the Army Corps' jurisdictional permitting. So that's just a process you have to go through. It's not really under our control how that happens. Now, we could have tried to permit it under one permit, but that wasn't what we were advised to do by the state nor the Army Corps.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to support the justification for sandstone development, U.S. Army Corps of Engineer 404 wetlands permit. You've got a copy of the letter in front of you. The logic in this, and obviously I didn't put in everything because it just made the letter too long. That's my motion. It's up to Jeremy and David if you want to make a second or just not do this.
I'm going to decline the second.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm
David?
going to decline for now. I wouldn't mind doing some more research on this, driving and looking into it a little bit deeper, but I don't feel comfortable supporting it at this time.
Okay, John, you got your answer.
Well, thanks for your time.
Well,
Okay, the next item, David, was just the correspondence from NOPEC. I'm not going to go through the details on the rates, but in April, all of our residents will be receiving notification from NOPEC. Ryan, maybe if you can whisper to Linda when you see her, because I'm sure her and Morgan will be getting the phone call. Well, Morgan's in here tonight, so she'll know. But if you guys have this letter, you'll understand why residents are calling. I expect I'll receive the notice also. The next item is just that annexation petition from the property owner to the city of Elyria. The notes I have say as of yesterday, but even as of today, as far as I know, that petition has not been refiled yet, but we know the attorney's indicated he does intend on refiling it. The next item, Georgianne will handle that later. David's got it later on the agenda on the ADA compliant website. Seventh item is, I hope you guys received notification Lorraine County subdivision regulations are being updated. There is a special planning commission meeting on Thursday, April 30th at 3:50 p.m. in the Commissioners Meeting Room B on the 4th floor of the County Administration Building to discuss this. I've reviewed these things. I've actually seen previous copies. I think they've actually done a good job. What they tried to do was take the engineers regulations, the county planning subdivision regulation, put into one, because there were conflicts in these and it was creating confusion between different developers on who in the heck regulations supersede the other. So now they've actually got it all as one. This is something that's been going on. Boy, this is even 3 administrators ago in the county, Chris, that they've been meeting on this, but it's finally come to where they've got their first document put together. It still needs to be approved through the Planning Commission. The only thing I asked for, which I thought would be simpler, and I suggest, did you get these, Jeremy? Mm-hmm. Okay. If you read them, and it's just the way I'm used to looking at things, I like to see a flow chart. I don't want to have to search through which sections apply to me, and I indicated that to both Don Romanchak and Bob Kleiber, which were at the Lorraine County Township Association meeting last Thursday. And I'm not saying I would hold it up for that, but just as they go through their next iteration, putting something more that's simpler, graphical, that you can follow real quick to get to the right location of which regulations apply to a particular development, because some of it depends upon size, and you start getting into different types of road requirements, and so it just, I think, can be made to simplify it. Stormwater mini grant. Best thing there, Kevin, I got a confirmation from Don Romanchak, and I think I sent it to you. We are approved, but we just don't have the MOU. I think, I'm not sure, David, if you were talking about that today or the next meeting, getting the Deepwood Lane project out for bid, but that's part of our match to help leverage those funds. And Chris, you're aware it's a reimbursement grant, so we'll have to pay it first and then get reimbursed for the 2 culverts that Kevin's putting in, replacing the old brick and mortar culverts that are falling in with a precast concrete culvert that will have a much longer useful life and serve us much better. But we actually will get grant funds to help pay for that. $7,500 in grant funds. That's doesn't quite cover all the costs, but it covers a lion's share of that portion of the project. The last item, and they do have it up there, this is where I was talking when the residents were here from Four Seasons, they'd be seeing this, this is a document, and I'm not sure when the county commissioners were sending this out. They sent it out, to my knowledge, to all the elected officials throughout the county about this is where they received that $67.4 million from the All Ohio Future Fund to put in. It's going to cover both sanitary sewers or the wastewater treatment facility, or combination of both. Obviously, it won't pay for all of that, so this is just the first piece. They've got to figure out where they get the other money from. Plus, I think they need a $22 million match just to be eligible for these particular funds, which they actually don't have in their coffers yet. But how will this impact Amherst Township? Well, this is on the west side of the county, and we're aware that for our quarries property, which is already zoned, that IRG owns, these sanitary sewers could service that area. Don't know yet if it'll go to an existing wastewater treatment plant or if they'll actually build a new wastewater treatment plant. And Jeremy, probably for your information, the developer had asked the communities, and that would have been South Amherst, Amherst Township. I'm not sure if Brownhelm Township had to, because their area's in the section that's conserved area, but definitely the county commissioners, they wanted permission to put in their own private plant. So it would have all been self-contained.
This is for IRG property?
For the IRG
Okay.
property.
And this is just within the last month? 'Cause-
No, this was, I'd have to look up the resolution.
Or you're going back to the original?
This would have been, Jim Cordez was still the county administrator, but it would have just been before Jim left. So I just don't recall the timing on that. So, it's maybe 2020, yes, I could look it up. But in any case, we had a resolution here. It only passed 2-1. But South Amherst turned it down, the county turned it down because they wanted a central sewer system. I know Jim was not happy with me, and I said, Jim, I represent Amherst Township, not the other communities. And for our community, it would have been better because then we don't have sewers coming through, which forces somebody to get tied into it. But yes, I understand if that's the case, it's going to make it very difficult for the county to ever put infrastructure in there, since the county wants to see that infrastructure because it improves the economics for the county. So I supported it. I know David went against it because I thought, well, now you want central sewers instead of on lot. I didn't quite understand the logic, but that's the way it ended up. But it didn't matter because the other communities turned it down, and the leadership in the village obviously needs sewers. You've seen they've lost quite a bit in terms of the business community because they just don't have the sewers to support it. Well, now here's an option, but unfortunately this has gotten tied to that, what do they call it, industrial park, mega site by the airport. But regardless, for us, this will be good as far as a service to the west side. And I'd hate to see us lose this money because someday if they get forced, and Elyria is under EPA, not Elyria, Vermilion's under EPA finding orders. They want to see something done that takes all that burden off of their residents. So they're really hoping either an upgraded wastewater treatment plant or new plant and divert their wastewater here. And what the county commissioners have said when they come to Lorraine County Township Association, if they do this, unlike what we just heard from Four Seasons, everybody will pay the same. And to me, that's the way it should be, because they're using grant funds and low-interest loan funds, which we all pay. But it's not right that only a small group get the benefit of that.
Yeah.
But this is just, they put this out.
It's 2 of a part 3. This is 2 of a part 3.
Okay, so there's more coming out then,
Yep.
Chris?
First one was facts about the proposed new Russia Township development. This is understanding Lorraine County water infrastructure project, and it's protecting, third is protecting our land preserving our water, preparing for responsible growth. And
Oh,
they're all
good.
on the commissioner's website.
Oh, well, they haven't sent that out yet to
No,
the...
they're being time released.
Okay, but it is available on their website? So it's available to
It
see
is
on
a
the
rural
website?
urban ad,
Yeah, and that's what they said, they'd
and
put it in
that's
the
why
rural
it's
urban.
time,
But we don't get the rural urban up here. I know they
Right.
drop it off in some restaurants.
but it is on the commissioner's website right now,
Okay.
all three.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'll take a look and see what else they have there.
The thing that'll be interesting for me with these kind of projects is, I understand economic development and providing housing that's needed and all these things, but like those quarries are one of the last chunks of untouched natural resources we have left in the township. And these sewers go in and it all gets developed. And I understand, oh, it's owned by this company and they can do whatever they want with their land. But at the same time, it's like, big picture is somebody has to do something to protect our natural resources.
You know what we tried to do for it? Back when Dan Martin was the director of Lorraine County Metro Parks, and the quarries were suffering in terms of their business, and it was Russ, what was Russ's last name, the general manager of the quarries, but he was talking about putting it up for sale. So I approached him about it becoming a park. I worked with Ron Twining, who was the director of community development at the time, Dan Martin, who was director of Lorraine County Metro Parks, and I got the auditor who had, at the time, the big printer for the maps. I mean, I printed out giant maps. We had them print out of this. And Russ, he led us along like he's willing to do this, but I think he just used us as a competitor for another group that we couldn't compete on money. And obviously it wouldn't have been us. We wanted the Metro Parks or Dan working with the state become a state park. So we tried that.
Yeah.
And obviously you lose. And again, it comes down to the person with the leverage is the one that owns the land.
Right, especially now.
Yeah, and you've got to respect that landowner's property rights also. And, you know, Ohio's a strong property rights, but we tried to make that a park. We
Yeah.
wanted that to be a park. But that was not the case. We attempted the same thing with Golden Acres. That ain't gonna happen either. So, no, it's not. Now, there's potential park there. And that's the one I said I'd like to get you moving on, and I've already had discussions with Jim Zemanek, potential buyers. Realize there's two potential buyers in this. I don't think the other one will go the same route as to what we can do. I talked with two county commissioners individually. One I had with a meeting of the potential of doing this, and with Jim Zemanek. The other one I just talked to when, you know, I'd seen him, and because the county board of commissioners own I think it's a 5-acre parcel there, and they weren't even aware they had it, and they think it's a mistake, and they said, oh, that probably should be under the Port Authority. I said, well, right now it shows it's you, and the city of Amherst owns a parcel back there. You know, it's probably left over from years ago. And I know Amherst is very supportive of it, but realize it would still be developing a portion, and then hoping we can get trails, which that's why we rely on the metro parks to construct it, because that's not something we have funds for. We could help share, maybe get a developer to share, but that is true, but it's not gonna be the whole thing. We tried to originally get the whole thing apart.
Right, we need to get back on track, Neil, but that's the last item that you had to bring up.
I have a couple.
Yes.
And, all right, I have one item, and maybe something that Chris was gonna bring up.
Yep.
But we did receive an item from the Board of Elections, March 20th, 2026. Notice of issue appearance on ballot pursuant to revised code 350514. We are enclosing a copy of how the issue you have filed appears on the 2026 primary special election ballot. Please keep in mind these proofs have been shrunk to accommodate mailing and will appear on a 17-inch ballot. If you would like to see a larger size proof of the ballot, please visit our website at www.votelorainecounty, ohio.gov/find-ballot. Select all sample ballots and choose your specific category and district name to find your subdivision ballot. Lizette Garcia, Lorraine County Board of Elections. All right, that's the only item I have. There's nothing we have to do on this, it's just a notification that they've got a sample ballot. Correct, there's nothing we have to do.
Nope, I also had that in my correspondence, as well as we received correspondence this afternoon from the county auditor that the auditor's office will be returning $2 million in surplus funds from the county's real estate assessment fund to local governments and taxing authorities throughout Lorraine County. The funds will be distributed proportionally to their relative contributions over the past 6 years, using an average of annual payments into the fund to ensure fair and consistent allocation. Amherst Township will receive $3,148.14. We're set to receive that sometimes after the first half real estate settlement is made. And I had both of those issues in your mailboxes.
Appreciate you sharing that stuff too, Chris. That's great.
That goes right into the general fund?
That will go into
All right,
local government or something like that.
Okay.
for the sake of the hour, reports. Why don't we run through reports quickly or run down those who are here? Zoning inspector, do you have anything to add, Ryan?
Yeah, year-to-date, we're at $58,989.82 and $9,250 for the park fee. We have an area variance request on April 8th with the BZA. That's for the workshop players. And on April 7th at the zoning commission, they'll do the Circle K site plan and the rezone request. That's all I have.
And Lonnie knows about both of those then?
I just got the site plan today, so that Lonnie and the rest of the team will be receiving
Okay, that's it. Next item, roads, parks, and cemeteries. Marsh?
Everything, all regular maintenance running smooth. The only thing I have to bring up is on the chip and seal project, I would like to take Stang Road off of the list of roads to do. I will speak with the county tomorrow, and I can have that removed. They just got our information as of yesterday, so I don't think it'll do any harm, with their calculations for taking Stang Road off of the project list.
Well, my thought would be on that, we could do a motion, I'd do a motion on that, just authorize removal of Stang Road. Okay, well, let me make a motion then, ad hoc, I authorize the removal of Stang Road from the list of roads to be chip and sealed in the county program. For 2026. That would be my motion.
A second.
Motion made and seconded.
And David,
Discussion.
Kevin had indicated too, because if we get a good bid on the Deepwood Lane project, he'll then extend that at the same unit price for some other work, for concrete work. But he'll still have to get Stang Road eventually, so it probably next year.
Correct. Yes.
It'll work out better for us in cash flow anyway.
Yes.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Roll call.
Euring?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Also under roads, quickly, I would like to make a motion to authorize the bidding of the Deepwood Lane Concrete Replacement Project, Part A and B. That's my
You're gonna
motion.
have to repeat your motion, sir, because I was not even there.
We have a second?
Well, I'll second, but Chris, you
Let her
repeating it for
catch up,
Chris,
okay.
so we can get it in there.
Part A and B. Okey-dokey. Go ahead. Euring?
Yes.
Did you second it?
Yes,
No,
I
was-
did.
Okay. Lynch?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Okay, moving down the list, I have nothing to bring forward at this time for the sake of the hour. On, let me go step back a step here. Do you have anything to bring before the board, Jeremy?
Not at this time.
Neil, do you have anything
No,
further at this
I'm
time?
good.
Okay, unfinished business, new business, we have, I believe, in our packet, a proposal from Georgianne Lynch, and she put together to come up with a ADA compliant website. And this would be a proposal to work with iPanda Designs. They also have a security arrangement also, I believe, through Wix. So your website's secure, so somebody doesn't hack into your website and change things, and do things like that, or put malware on it. I think, considering the importance of a website, I think this is worth it. I have no problem with this. I think George did a good.
Well, I think we should get some more quotes,
More
personally.
quotes?
Mhm.
You would like more
I know,
quotes?
yes. I think one quote is not,
Can you reach out to somebody then and get some quotes, Chris?
I know Linda's working on it.
Linda is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't
I'm
know
aware of
that.
that.
What's wrong with our current website?
Well-
The
George.
platform that I use through GoDaddy will not support ADA compliance.
It's not compliant.
Yeah,
The
I just,
the portion we use.
The portion-
If we went to something,
That's what
the
I-
other one, it would
the
be.
platform that we use
Okay.
does not support that.
Well, then what I'm going to ask, hang on, if we're going out for other quotes, we can't show this number because we just set the baseline.
Right.
And that means that any information that's out there shouldn't be shared.
Well, I think we should have done what we did originally and had the group do
Wait
this
a
as a
minute.
project.
Before we do this, we've got a policy right now that sets the threshold, which is lower than mandated by the statute for going out for bids. Because anytime you go out for a bid, there's a cost involved of administration of getting those bids. And so I think our level is now 15,000, and we had started out way back when at 10,000. Because the issue we had is there's too much concern with people just going somebody they know, the local, not even checking with it. But you can't have, like, we don't want Kevin, Georgianne, Linda spending hours for something, save $10. So, spending 100, that's the old penny wise and pound foolish. So I just want us to understand that right now. Georgianne, don't share the numbers.
Why will
You
not?
guys know what these numbers are. You've seen them. They're not huge numbers. So how much money and how much time are we going to spend, and how much are we going to save, and is it going to be a higher quality than this particular individual?
And I would also like to point out that there are 18 Lorraine County townships, and of those 18, and I would say 17, not including us, 12 of those 17 townships use iPanda. And so they are familiar with the ADA compliance needed, they're familiar with what townships require for their websites, and plus Lorraine County Township Association uses iPanda.
Well, this is the first I heard that Linda's looking at this. Can you talk with Linda and make sure these
Yeah,
numbers are not
This is
shared?
news to me.
This whole proposal should not be shared, if that's what the board wants to do. That's up to this board.
Right.
You see the number we're talking about.
My thoughts are, on
How much do you
this,
think you're gonna save?
are that Chris
Come on.
and Neil have two very good ideas. We have a little bit of time on this, so we could defer this, 3 weeks till the April meeting?
Yes.
First meeting in April?
would
Okay,
be
good. Give us
fine.
some time. We can check around, get some other quotes. But as Neil said, we need to keep these numbers quiet. We don't need to be, padding somebody's bid, so to speak, by feeding them, what they should. Or if they want to beat it, they can beat it. But I wouldn't disclose what the, like the amount, like he said, so we get a fair bid there.
Yeah, and I want to know what somebody we can talk to that's local, that's in a similar business. Right now, I've got 12 other townships I can go and talk with. So whoever this other individual is, I want to know who they service.
Emerge is
Yeah.
one.
Well, Emerge is one I know, but I'm
GoDaddy we could
concerned with
stay with
Emerge.
if we
Okay.
went to the next.
Right, and then someone would have to learn WordPress to do that. Because I don't know WordPress. And knowing that, I just don't know that I want to spend all the time learning WordPress.
Well, David,
Without having somebody to support me. iPanda uses Wix, and they offer
I think
hours of
this goes back
support.
to what we talked about. I don't know if I can talk about it because it was executive session.
Is security?
No, it was when increases were happening. Linda was doing the website and the policy manual.
no,
No.
Linda's not doing the website.
Facebook,
Facebook's not the website, that's social media.
I thought it was website, Facebook, and the
Eventually
policy
she
manual.
will, we want her to. Yes, we want her to take on additional role, but she's not yet.
Well, let's just wait 3 weeks.
I agree.
We'll get some more information on it. We'll see what's out there, and we'll see
Right.
what it entails, and then evaluate it then. But you can't evaluate what you don't have, so let's get some stuff, and then we can evaluate it.
Just
All right.
remember the magnitude of what we're talking about, if this is all about cost and not about quality or responsiveness or something similar, what we've got here.
Well,
You aren't gonna get it in half,
yeah.
so figure out dollars
Well,
per
and
hour, how
I
many
need to
hours
talk
can you
to you
spend
about
on it?
dollars, 'cause I
Okay.
know what we're paying now, and if this is a yearly cost.
Well, and yes, I will go over the cost with you
Thank you.
when we're off
Because
camera.
this isn't budgeted for this year or next year. Well, we would have to budget it for next year.
Yeah,
All right. Well,
okay.
that item, but that's good. That's good, though we had a discussion on this. So we're moving ahead on this. We're more optimistic than we were, I think, a few weeks ago. So, we'll get it. We'll get it. Complaints, nothing else to come before the board. I have nothing else myself. The next regular meeting, April 14th, 7 PM, Amherst Township Hall, 7530 Oberlin Road. Work sessions as needed. And if there's nothing else to come before the board, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. Roll call?
Lynch,
Yes.
Watson,
Yes.
here.
Who
I
seconded?
guessed on Watson for seconding that. Did you second
No, I
that?
seconded, I
Okay,
think.
Euring-
I didn't hear Watson.
Euring, Watson.
Yes, yes. Doesn't matter. I